Right, so once we have made the selection of which of the ambiguity and hierarchy finals you want to execute based on your thumbnails, those of you that are doing it digitally, you're done. You just need to send your stuff over to the Google Drive and they're completed. If you're doing them analog, you have to do them on Bristol and photograph the final and then put that final into the Google Drive so I can take a look at it and grade it. So this is how you do it. First of all, you're going to start off with Bristol. So this is just for, by the way, analog people. This is not effective if you're doing it digitally. So you want to take your sheet of Bristol. This is an 11 by 14 sheet. The finals are 7 by 11 inches, and the reason they are is because that is exactly half of a 11 by 14 sheet of Bristol. I suggest that you take the sheets out instead of like opening up the Bristol. Sometimes the binding's on the side, sometimes it's on the top kind of thing. But it's easier if you flip it over and go from the back. It's easier to peel the paper off that way. So I open the back, take the paper, kind of crease it a little bit down like this, and then it's a lot easier for you to peel it off without tearing it. So just be really gentle. I'm pulling really carefully. You can see it tears a little bit, but that's the previous page. And then boom, just pops right out. So you just have this 11 by 14 sheet of Bristol, and you're just going to measure it with your ruler. So measure it in this way, just to make sure it's a nice straight line. So I measure all the way in here to 7 inches on the top. I measure all the way 7 inches on the bottom. I use the ruler to draw a line in between them, as you see here. Okay, and then I use the ruler just to make sure I cut it straight. So this is your utility knife, that comes with your kit, and this is how I want you to use it. So just a quick safety demo. This little wheel here is what you loosen, okay, to slide the blade in and out. When you're using it, you push the blade all the way out like that, and then you just tighten it down. Makes a little ratcheting sound, and once it stops turning, you're all set and you're ready to cut. So I'm going to do that now. I hold the ruler down with my fingers. Don't get your fingertips too close to the edge. Nice and easy, just pull and draw straight along there. Got it, ta-da! So now you have one piece for your hierarchy, you've got one piece for your ambiguity, and you're ready to go. So I'm just going to make this up, but you would be referring in theory to the smaller thumbnail that you created to get to this point. So now I do want them to be precise. Before it didn't matter, they were a little messy, they were just really raw thumbnails. That's what thumbnails are for, they're for ideation. So I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about in terms of creating clean edges. I'm basically going to do the kind of a version of the same demo thing that I showed yesterday when I showed you how to do the thumbnails in the first place. I suggest that you, as I'm doing here, when I'm doing part of a square that is off the edge of the paper, it doesn't matter what the measurements are, and it doesn't have to be exactly like your thumbnail, but I do want it to be a straight line, so I'm going to just go from here. I don't know if you remember that, and just draw a nice straight line. Those are easy. If you want to do like a really measured square, please measure it and be really careful. I'm going to draw a 1-inch one right here. Okay, 1 inch. Take and go another inch. And I'm not going to come look at these with calipers, but take your time, make it nice and clean. See, it's not quite straight there. Line it up. There you go. That'll be a nice 1-inch square. So again, I'm doing these all in pencil. Gives me something to work with. Okay. Now, as far as circles and stuff, okay, as I mentioned in the earlier demo video, just use cylindrical objects that you can find around your house, like you know, your paint bottle that you guys are going to be doing when we're done with this assignment and you're finally getting ready to do your grayscales. So something about this big, and I'm just going to do these all over the place. You know, you can do, just draw a line around it that way. If you want to do something really big, you know, I've got a plate, you know, so you can do, if you're doing some big arc off the side like that, right? Okay, simple. If you're doing something really tiny, like you can use a coin like this. And honestly, if you're doing something really tiny, you know, you could just do it by hand. You know, I don't care if it's not perfect. Something like this, right? Nice. I'll get in, let me get in super close there so you can see. There we go. All right. So use cylindrical objects to make the outlines for the circles. Make sure that you measure precisely to get the squares. Use the ruler to do that. And then at that point, you know, or like cups are good. You could do, I'm not going to do a million of them, but you get the idea. Just simple household objects are, you know, are the best for doing something like this. So now I want you to color them in. And the best thing to do for that, okay, I've got 3 different pens. I've got the big fat, you know, wedge tip marker. I've got a regular Sharpie here, and I've got a Micron Sharpie. Now, you can do this any way you want, but the way I do it is I always like to start with the Micron. You know, I like to start with the small. Okay, let me get in close. I like to start with the small line like that. Okay. I could even fill that whole thing in. Okay. Then for the square, if you can, you know, and you should, again, I'm just going to redraw it with the Micron. So again, starting with the Micron, and be as precise as you can. I know that sometimes the lines won't match up exactly. Don't get too crazy and OCD about the lines, like maybe going slightly over the edge. You know, I just want it to look really nice and clean. I don't want it to be perfect. You don't need to do that. So I'll just start with these guys because they're smaller and it's faster for me to do it. Then I go to the medium Sharpie here, and I just fill it in. And I'm very, on the edges, I'm very careful not to go over. I turn it if I need to see the edges much more clearly. Here, I'm sorry, I need to get up closer. Kind of went a little bit over the edge there, but that's okay. You know, and I'm just filling it in. If you were doing the larger areas, there you go. See, that's fine. If you're doing the larger areas, you want to use a bigger marker. I'm using a wedge tip. I think in your kits, you guys have a much larger Sharpie. It's like this, but it's big and fat, and those are fine too. Here, I'm just going to start, you know, covering up the entire area. I'm going to come close to the line, but not too close. And it takes a little while. Now, when you're doing this, and again, I'm not going to go all the way because it takes time, but I'm going to cover all this up, okay? Now, the thing about using markers like this, even Sharpies, when you're covering a large area, you may have to go in and do a couple of coats to make it a really solid black. So you want to go this way, you want to go at 90-degree angles. So the first coat, I'm kind of going this way. The second coat, I'm going to go this way. So you want to do maybe 2 or 3 coats, just to make the larger areas really, really dark, okay, like that. I'm going to push my luck and go really close to the edge. Okay. And then I'll go back in with the smaller Sharpie and try to do the edges that way very carefully. See, I'm going really slowly because I want to make sure I have nice, clean, tight edges. So you just take your time. Doesn't take that long. There. Not so bad, right? That looks good. So basically that's how you do it. Use a ruler for the straight edges. If you have complete squares or diamonds inside the frame of the 7x11 piece of paper, please measure as close as you can and so it's a square and not some lopsided polygon. And the circles, just trace them out using household stuff and go in with your Sharpies and you should be good to go. So that is how you do the finals for the ambiguity and hierarchy assignments. We're going to have two more figure ground assignments that are similar to this, that are a little more complicated, but the techniques are basically the same. And I didn't want to, take up a lot of time just, frankly, having you watch me do videos just where I'm just filling stuff in. But that's it. That's actually part of the process. So hopefully that's clear. When we meet in class, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But that's it, and good luck. Talk to you later.